Hello, boxing fans, and welcome back to Andy's Cavern. And as promised, tonight we've got a special guest on. We've got Anthony Austin, who you've maybe seen on Porky's Corner, who's a fellow boxing fan and very knowledgeable. He's far more knowledgeable than I am. So, welcome, Anthony. How are you doing tonight, pal?
I'm great, Andy. Sorry. Stop flattering me. Flattery will get you nowhere. I want to get into your man cave cavern and have a drink with you. But
Drink
yeah,
all
we're
my
just
vodka.
we're just boxing nerds, aren't we?
That's it. And you're well today.
I am. Thank you very much. Good.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking.
Have you had a good day?
Yeah, I've got, life happens, isn't it? So you do a few things, and I keep up to date with the mad world, which is called boxing, isn't it? Come on, it's a
Yeah.
clown show, isn't it?
It is a bit of a circus at the moment, isn't it? Where one thing and another, and you've got the circus ringmasters such as Frank Warren going about dictating to people what should be asked or what shouldn't be asked.
Yeah, he's. It's very sad when somebody is offended by sensible questions, isn't it? Come on,
Yeah,
all right. Ask me a sensible question, Andy. I'll answer it. What I'm not going to do is get shirty and start this and that, and you shouldn't be doing this, and you're a moron. And no, we're not. As a fan, you consume the product that he promotes, correct?
yeah,
Well, when there are issues and things that are not quite transparent, whatever they are, good and bad, what's wrong with asking the question? He's a promoter. That's his job, isn't it?
yeah. He should be accountable for that. At the end of the day, if there wasn't boxing fans watching what he's putting out, he wouldn't have a job, would he? He wouldn't be making the money he's making.
Correct. And, let's have it right. He doesn't have the best reputation, does he? Someone's actually tried to shoot him. Well, let's speculate why they would do
Why
that.
would you do that?
You know, if you've got a great friend, you don't want to sort of send him to the shadow realm with a bullet, do you?
No, that's
And
right.
my issue with Frank Warren is Bricktop, which is a very, very, very good description of him. Very good description.
He's well
It's
living up to
simple.
that title, isn't he?
Yeah. He he's pissing on people and telling them don't look up because it's raining. And we're saying no, it's warm and
Yeah.
and you're above us. So I think it's urine. It's not water.
Yeah.
And he doesn't like that. And
No.
my view is a simple one. If you've got something you don't want to talk about, it's only then you become uncomfortable.
Yeah. Something
So
to hide, isn't it? That's what I feel.
yeah.
But
Well,
then I must be a moron or a troll or something for even suggesting that
well,
what he's telling us
here,
isn't.
well, Andy, I think in the group chat we saw that Dubois was looking razor
Oh,
sharp on that
yeah,
Wednesday. You as a fan know what to look for to see if somebody's in shape because when you saw Bacoli come out, you knew that he hadn't thrown a punch for six
yeah,
months and he was never going to win. But the complete contrast was Dubois was looking razor sharp. And if you're a high level athlete, because I've done things like I've raced some cars, I was a competitive rower, and I do competitive mountain bike. When you've done the training for a particular event, the day or 2 days before, you know, and your body knows. And he was in that mode. There's
yeah,
no doubt about it. I could see it just by the way he's moving, the sharpness on the
yeah,
pads, the angles he's cutting, all that could be seen. You can tell he was trained. Now, for guys like myself and you have been watching boxing over 20 years, are you going to tell me within 24 hours of seeing that razor sharpness, he's that sick that a doctor has to sign him off?
yep. It's a bit suspicious. I mean, when I watched him doing that, I think it was an open workout or something, the Tuesday
Yeah.
or the Wednesday. Like you say, he was razor sharp, and I was actually picking Parker to beat him on points, maybe outmaneuver him, beat him on points. And when I saw that workout, I thought, oh, he looks dangerous. I thought I was kind of fearing for Parker in some respects, but and then next thing it was all off. It was bizarre.
Well, the unfortunate thing for Frank Warren is that some of us do have brains. Okay. And for my sins, I studied for a chemistry degree. I did that in Nottingham University, and I also worked for one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world as an applied chemist. And what that allows me to do is understand chemicals and how they interact with the bodies. And
Yeah,
if you remember, Frank comes out and said, "Oh, he's got a viral infection, and we had to give him antihistamines, right?" He actually called them antihistamines, didn't he? But he called antihistamines.
yeah,
Well, sorry, but as a graduate chemist, I call bullshit on that straight away, and I'll tell you why. Okay. Your body produces histamine when you have sort of like an allergic reaction or you have what's called an immune response, right? So, for example, when a wasp or a bee stings you, immediately around the site, your skin swells up, there's inflammation and there's pain, right?
yeah,
All that is caused by your body producing a substance called histamine, right?
yep,
Now, antihistamines are drugs that have been synthesized since the 1930s to slow or counteract that reaction, right? The reason being is that, as you well know, humans are individuals, right? And their histamine response to whatever insult the body has is different. And some people's histamine response is over the top, right? To keep it in simple layman's terms, hist histamines that your body produces are like bouncers in a nightclub. So all of a sudden, there's a disturbance by the bar, right? The shout goes out for all the bouncers to go down to the bar and they go and sort out the issues, right?
yeah,
That's what they are. So the histamines are your body's bouncers. And in some people, there's going to be a slight disturbance because, you've got a drunk young lady at the bar, and it's like sending 30 bouncers there and they beat the shit out of her and throw her out, which is not needed. All it needs is one bouncer to just escort her out. Right?
yeah,
So that's why you have antihistamines. So what Frank Warren inadvertently said is that in order for him to be diagnosed and a doctor to say have some antihistamines, he needs to have some kind of either allergic response, right, or a response to some kind of what they call an insult to the body. How's that going to happen in 24 hours, Andy? How?
unless he's maybe. I think I've heard you mention before if he'd eaten shellfish, that he became allergic
Correct.
to it
Yeah.
or something like
If
that.
he's or peanuts or something like
Yeah,
that. Now, if you eat peanuts or shellfish, what happens is you get an allergic response. Your body produces all this histamine, and then what you do is take the antihistamines to lower that response, stop the inflammation, and your eyes stop watering or whatever it is. But here's the point: Daniel Dubois he's had how many? He's had a title shot against Usyk. He's been in high level fights, and he's just coming off an amazing win against Joshua where he looks sensational, correct?
yeah,
Are you telling me his team haven't written down and noted exactly how they prepared for the fight, what type of workouts they did, what the intensity was, what he ate, and how long he rested?
yeah,
Bearing in mind, he's effectively a machine that makes everybody millions. You telling me they didn't do that? They clearly
yeah.
did. So
They must have done.
if they did do that, why would they change it for this fight? It just
Yeah,
doesn't make sense. If
doesn't
it's
add
not
up.
broke, if it's not broke, Andy, you know the score.
You don't need to
You don't
fix it.
you don't fix it. So I am gonna call bullshit on Frank Warren because if I was a reporter, I would say, "Hello there, Mr. Frankie. So are you telling me that Daniel has had either an allergic response or some kind of reaction in order to be administered antihistamines? If so, what was it for?" Right? Now, if it's a flu symptoms normally come gradually. Do you understand? You
Mm,
don't
yeah,
one day be razor sharp on the pads and everything else, and the next day you're in bed with flu. What happens is there's normally 24 to 36 hours of, well, I'm not feeling so good, but I'm not so bad. Let's see if it gets better. Let's see if it gets worse. There was no time to have come down with the flu because literally it was the next day after the pads, he was out.
yeah.
So it must be something. It's a bit like having I had a herniated disc, right, in my back. And the reason I got it was that I was lifting some weights, and this is I'd admit this. What happened, Andy, is that I was lifting some weights. I was doing a squat, and my friend was watching me, and then he said to me, "Oh, look at that woman over there." So I've got about 150 kilos, and I literally twisted to have a
Oh,
look at the woman. And what happens is you jerk, and then all of a sudden it's hurt your
oh,
back.
yeah,
So the point I'm making is to have a herniated disc, you need a major event. It doesn't, you don't gradually get it. You either
yeah,
have a car accident, or if you're in the middle of the squat, you twist badly and it bulges the disc.
yeah,
Daniel would have had to have something like that for him to go from razor sharp and in peak condition to being signed off by a doctor to have antihistamines. It doesn't make sense. Hence all the questions. And I'm sorry, Frank, if you put information out there that doesn't make sense, be prepared for some questions from people who might know what they're talking about. If he
yep.
wants me to start drawing out the chemical structures of antihistamines, I'm very happy to do so. Right? But I got the feeling that this conversation wouldn't go far with Frank. He would shut me
No.
down and then issue a writ, wouldn't he?
See you in court or something with part of these words, wouldn't it?
Listen, for sure, that isn't the case.
Yep.
For sure. Let's leave it at that, Andy. He said the wrong thing.
That's it. That's it. So Carol Froch has got an upcoming or much anticipated interview with Conor Benn, so we're led to believe. How do you think that's going to go?
Oh, depends which side of the fence you're in. Listen, like a British fan, I love Carl Froch as a boxer. As soon as he got the title against Pascal,
That's
right?
some fight, yeah.
What a fight that was. And then his first defense against Jermaine Taylor. And then he
Oh,
does him with, what, 10 seconds to go in the last round. You couldn't write a movie script with that in, could you? And then he went fighting killer after killer after killer because he did the middleweight Super 7, was it? Or
Super
Super
7, yeah.
5? Yeah,
Super
that's
6.
Super 6,
Yeah.
right. That's what he did. And he just gave us quality fight after quality fight. And the thing I like about Carl is, as a technical boxer, he's very, very average.
Yeah.
But as a hard man, he was carved out of granite, wasn't he, old
Oh,
Carl Froch? He
yeah.
was carved out of granite because there were some serious punches and serious pressure that they put him under. And the only person I know who's got a better chin than Carl Froch is my favourite fighter, which you could see on my
Man in
profile,
the picture there.
Marvelous Marvin Hagler, right? And
Yeah.
Froch's chin is in that category. Sorry,
Yeah.
but it's true,
He's
right?
in that league.
Now,
Yeah.
now, what's the problem with Carl? I was watching his channel when it first started, and again, it has grown meteorically and organically. It's not got the fake subscribers that's been bought. He gets thousands, hundreds of thousands of views for his videos, which have done with very good humor. He's got a
Yep.
very glamorous wife. He uses her on the videos as well, which bumps up the count. And
They've
it's
got great
all,
chemistry as well, don't they?
oh
Between
yeah, listen. I tell you what, right? If somebody wants to know if their wife loves them, have a look at Mr. and Mrs. Froch, right? That is what men dream for, to get a
Yeah,
wife like that. All right, isn't it? Because it's funny, because they always say as men, what's the best woman for you? I tell you what the best woman for you is. Not the one that you want as a man, but the woman that wants you.
on you.
And
Yeah,
you can tell that not only they have a brilliant chemistry and an excellent relationship, and it's to die for,
and
right?
I
So,
met them both at Knock Hill. I think I told you
right,
earlier.
at the racetrack there, yeah,
Yeah, he was at a Ducati day. He must have been invited up as a guest. And when I
right,
seen he was going, I thought, wow, I've got to go down there. I want to meet Carol Froch, you know. And he was there, I think,
right.
with his wife and her, I think her pal. But they were just
Okay.
such nice people, you know, just totally genuine, nice people
Yeah,
they're having a fun time. And the weather, being Knock Hill, the weather wasn't fantastic.
it normally pisses it down there and horrible, isn't it? You
You
know,
either get frostbite or sunburn, one or the other, if you go Knock Hill.
and
Possibly on the
probably
same day.
both, yeah, both in the same day. I was about to say that. Yeah, the problem that Froch has got is he's got a brilliant platform that's doing huge numbers, and because he was such a quality boxer and gave us such brilliant fights, the Groves fights, etc., as the Butte fight and all that, he has a following. So therefore, he has influence. And because he's financially independent, he doesn't need to, let's have it right.
Kiss
I'll be
ass.
blunt, kiss ass. Yeah, exactly. He doesn't need to do it. And not only that, he's got a lot of friends in the boxing fraternity because he's done so well, including, Porky. And he commands a lot of respect. And my issue is this: his channel was doing what it says it is doing. Then all of a sudden he put out that Ben Whitaker, what is it? It was the podcast.
Yeah,
And I gave that a 1 out of 10 when
yeah,
Carl Froch is normally doing 7, 8, 9 out of 10.
yeah,
I couldn't believe what I was seeing. He was literally, in my opinion, pandering to Ben Whitaker. They were following a script, and I couldn't believe it. And I think, well, why would you do that? Because clearly, here was a guy who's had a huge amount of social media hype. He gets into a fight, and then all of a sudden, the fight's not going the way he wants it to go, and he starts losing. That fight was getting away from him round after round. And in my opinion, I've been in boxing rings, I've been in a fight myself. Um, Whenever it gets hard, you look for signs of distress. And one of the signs of distress in a fighter that's overmatched is he looks to buy himself time. For example, spitting out the gum shield. We saw
mm,
Ben Whitaker doing that,
yeah,
right? That's a clever one. They use it particularly when you get knocked down, etc. You start complaining to the ref. You start holding all those different things.
yeah,
But he's in there with a solid pro. Liam Cameron is a very solid pro who'd just been life and death with Lyndon Arthur,
yeah,
who has got a win over Anthony Yard, correct?
yeah. That's
Right.
right.
So, a decent light heavyweight pro. But if he's going to fulfill the hype that he's got, he should be expected to beat him, correct?
That's right.
Right.
Yeah,
And he was not doing that. And Liam Cameron was in the ascendancy in that fight. And all of a sudden, they go over the top rope and he can't continue. Look,
yeah,
it's a pantomime. And the irony is both boxers went over the rope.
yeah,
And lo and behold, Liam Cameron is ready to continue. He gets up, brushes himself down, and he signals to the referee he's ready to continue. Why
yeah,
can't Ben? He didn't hurt anything. He didn't
yeah,
fall anyway. And the problem that you've got in today with the technology, excuse me, you've got immediate replays. Nothing, he didn't twist an ankle. He
yeah,
didn't fall awkwardly. So why does he not want to continue? In my opinion, he wanted a way out.
yeah. That was an easy option, wasn't it? An easy way
Yeah.
out. He was coming
And
apart at the seams in the fight. I felt it was,
correct. Now, as a good podcaster and boxing journalist who knows his stuff. Are you telling me Carl Froch doesn't know when a fighter is coming apart at the seams? Well, here's a starter for 10, Andy. He does know
Yeah.
because Carl is very good at weathering a storm, and then he puts his foot on the gas pedal when he sees other fighters coming apart.
Yeah.
Jermaine Taylor, George Groves, just to mention two,
Yeah.
right? Lucien Butte. Do you want me to continue?
Yeah. That's it.
Froch knows his marbles. He knows his potatoes. And the first question I expect Carl to have asked Ben was, Ben, you know we're not buying this as true
Ah,
boxing fans. And he did not do that. And as soon as he didn't do it, I knew that they got him.
yeah.
Because if you are going to be a channel that has its own agenda and it's going to be independent and it's going to be real boxing journalism, journalism is asking the questions that nobody wants asking. Everything else is PR.
And
And
being
it's very
independent as
sad
he
to
has,
see.
being
Yeah, it
independent
was.
as he is, he's got nobody to answer it, does he? He doesn't. He
Yeah.
doesn't have to answer it.
Now he then did a podcast with Turkey, and you could visibly see he was nervous.
Yeah.
Well, why? Why? Right? Turkey has come onto his channel, and in my opinion, that shows a mutual respect because he wouldn't do it. Why would Carl be nervous? Right? You have got the guy who's shaking up boxing on your channel. Ask him all the questions because now is the time.
Yeah.
And he
You might not
didn't
get
do
another
that.
chance. So
Correct. He didn't do that. And that's two strokes. So to answer your question that you posed to me a while back, sorry to be so verbose.
that's all right.
Um, what do I think happens with the Conor Benn? Look, if it looks like it, walks like it, and quacks like it is a
Duck.
right. He is not, in my opinion, going to be asking the key questions. Number one, how did clomiphene get in your system, Connor? Number two, Connor, you have been saying you've been cleared. How have you been cleared? And who has cleared you? Number three, you had a dossier, you said, that proves your innocence. Yet still, you haven't given any authority for it to be made public. Why not?
Does it
And,
exist?
correct. Now, there's claims that he spent 1 million doing this and that. I don't believe any of it. Now, if he doesn't answer those questions, then what we've got is IFL TV in disguise, or we've got,
Yeah.
Talk Sport in disguise. And that's a real shame for such a great boxing man. That's my view on it.
He's evolving into a mainstream channel, possibly.
Correct.
And for a
And
man who's got what I would call probably one of the leanest resumes, and like there's no gimme fights, probably very few gimme fights in his resume. He's almost got like an Usyk type resume, which is
correct.
very lean and no
He,
padded out with any nonsense.
he's a hard man. As I said earlier, he's carved out of granite, isn't he? He
Yeah,
really, really is, or marble. That's what they've carved him out of. And good for him. He seems to have a great life, a great family. He's well loved. He's got a brilliant channel that could do so much more. You don't have to sell out to the narratives, in
yeah,
my opinion.
I agree.
you know. And the funny thing is that and I know there's some channels out there that are passionate about the sport of boxing, and they're gonna they're gonna look at the interview when he airs it, and they're gonna have an opinion on it, and
Yeah,
quite rightly so. But what I'm saying is, in my opinion, as a true boxing man that's got British boxing going through his veins, in my opinion, the last couple of interviews he's done, he's let himself down. He's let himself down with the Whitaker. He's let himself down with Turkey. And my perception is we'll see this trend continue with the Conor Benn interview.
and what it looks like is going to happen, he's going to let his fans down, which is quite sad. All the people that's followed him and made his channel what it is, I've got a feeling they're going to be disappointed if he doesn't ask these questions that we feel as I think we're pretty unanimous in Porky's commission. We all want these questions, especially Porky, because
Yeah.
Porky's very
No,
invested in Carl, isn't he?
yeah, for
Personal.
18
Yeah.
years and whatever. Yeah, that's an excellent point, Andy, which you reminded me of. What you do is when he had if you go back now and have a look at the Whitaker interview, the response from the audience was almost overwhelmingly, hang on, why are you going soft on this guy?
Hmm.
And then the Turkey interview, they were saying, in fact, I read one comment that made me laugh, saying that Carl Froch has gone from what's that conspiracy guy in America called?
Uh,
Can't Alex Jones. He's gone
oh
from
yeah.
Alex Jones to mainstream mainstream media. And look, Carl can do whatever he wants, but to me, it's a Bible saying, isn't it? What does it profit a man to gain the whole wide world, but in the process lose his soul? And as a boxing man, if he's not asking the questions to people who have been caught cheating, to me, if he's not asking those questions, it's indicative as to how bad and how murky boxing is. Because if you can silence somebody like Carl, who for sure doesn't like drug cheats, it's a bit sad, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's just hope he proves us all wrong because
Oh, I'd love that.
that'd be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Don't let us down,
he,
Carl.
yeah. Here's my point about being wrong, Andy. I love being wrong about things. I'll tell you why. If you're wrong about something, that means you've learned something, correct?
Yeah.
Right. Only a fool thinks he knows everything. We don't know what's in the interview, but what I'm doing is I'm looking at a trend. And the reason I'm
Yeah.
looking at that trend is that leopards very, 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 very rarely change their spots. And if he
Yeah.
can't ask the questions to Whitaker, he can't ask the questions to Turkey Al Sheikh, why is he going to ask them to Conor Benn?
Yeah. That's
Number
it.
one. And number two, you know, and I know with Eddie Hearn, would Eddie Hearn give him access to Conor Benn if the difficult questions are going to be asked? In
Mm.
my opinion, no.
Yeah, I mean, he might, for all we know, Eddie Hearn could be, or Eddie Hills could be lurking in the behind the curtains or whatever. Oh, wait a minute, we can't publish that. You can't ask that. And, it could all be preempted. That,
Yeah, my perception, Andy, is unlike this interview, there'll be set questions which Connor knows what is going to be asked about. So,
yeah,
for example, while we're talking now, you could take this podcast in whatever direction you want.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what you're going to ask me next, and if I don't know about that subject, I'll just say, "Oh, sorry, Andy, I don't know." Excuse me.
And I don't think
But
Conor Benn's the sharpest spoon in the box, is he? So he's,
well, he's not, but he's privileged, isn't he? Because
yeah,
he's lived off of what his father and Chris's father has produced, right?
yeah,
He's not won an area belt. He's not fought anybody, and he was going life and death with unknown French journeyman, wasn't he?
yeah,
Then all of a sudden, he's knocking everybody out, in the Mike Tyson-esque fashion, and you think, oh, what's
yeah.
going on here? And then all of a sudden, you have this.
That's,
It's a murky business, Andy, and the
that's
and the and the horrible thing about it is that when a light is shone, all the cockroaches and the rats are all running away, and it's
yeah,
not very nice, right?
scurrying into the
Real,
shadows.
yeah, real boxing people ask questions. And I know people like Curtis Woodhouse, who was on Porky's earlier, that uh, are saying, look, they made it very. I think it was on Twitter. He was making it very clear that he's expecting some decent questions, simply because he says he's got fighters that he wants to know, if he puts them in with Conor Benn, are they going to get injured? And
Yeah,
given the fact that you know we've had a recent boxing fatality in Ireland, and we have very, very serious brain injuries. It's a bit low, isn't it?
yeah.
If you're taking performance enhancing
You can't play at
substances.
boxing, and
No.
people, if people they're going in there with intent to cause damage, if they're getting juiced up and going into a fight, and that is lethal. As a sport, you can legally kill somebody, which is the
Correct.
downside to boxing. But we don't ever want to see any of that happen. Though there has been a few instances in
Correct.
recent times. Yeah,
Good. So
I
yeah,
think
but listen, it's sad, isn't it?
it is.
Carl, a man of Carl's standing should not need to be questioned, because you should go on his channel and people should know they're going to be asked pertinent and topical questions.
Yeah,
And if they skirt around them, they're going to be brought up,
yeah.
right?
I think Chris Eubank's gone up in a lot of people's estimations with the way he's conducted himself at the press conferences and asking Eddie Hills and Conor Benn. He's been
Yeah.
bringing up the drug issue, hasn't he? And it's
Yeah.
been trying to
Here's
back
what
long grasping.
here's what I think about Chris Eubank Jr. I reckon that Eddie Hearn, or Eddie Hills, is worried that he's looking at a younger, very good promoter
Yeah.
cutting his teeth, because Chris Eubank Jr. has sold that fight brilliantly, better than Eddie could have done. And you know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean? He's making Eddie look a bit old, isn't he? Right? And he's done it cerebrally, using his brain, isn't it? He hasn't done
Yeah.
it with cheap shots. He's done it using, what about the drugs? Eddie,
Yeah.
you're a promoter. Why do I have to listen to you? Beautifully done, right? And then the eggs, come on, let's have it
Oh,
right. The eggs has
superb.
been staged, right? But who came up with that as a prop? It is
Yeah.
absolute theatre, isn't it? It's just brilliant. The the casuals must have gone, oh my God, how can he do
Ah,
that? You had people
yeah.
calling up TalkSport saying, oh, he could have damaged his eye because
Oh.
it's an egg.
And Eddie Hill's coming out saying about his eye. I never once seen him even rub his eye or anything like that. It was just a lot of nonsense. And Eddie Hills was Conor Benn will attack him on site, and all this crap. Like it's like if you see Nigel Benn, stay away from him, and it's just full of you can
Baloney.
smell you can
Andy,
smell the BS from up here.
Andy, when you and I were growing up and we were playing football, they were telling us that you could run off a broken leg. You know what I mean? And we're really complaining about an egg being smashed on the
Oh,
side of somebody's face? Come on.
crazy. Didn't
These
bother John
guys are
Prescott.
boxers. They're about to knock lumps out of each other, right? I think if we're worrying about an egg being smashed on somebody's face, I think that, put it this way, if it's a real worry, those two have got a lot more to worry
Oh,
about than the upcoming fight, right?
it never deterred John Prescott getting an egg flung at him.
Oh, it's
He
brilliant. It was.
reacted the right way.
Did you see his punch as well?
It's a good job, wasn't it? Johnny Two Jobs, I think we're calling him. I think he sadly passed away recently, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right. But we're showing our age,
Uh,
knowing about that, aren't we, Andy? No, listen, it's great promotion, and the thing about Chris Eubank is that he's very articulate. He's different to his dad,
yeah,
right? But he's articulate and clever. And I've always said, when you look at his career, Chris Eubank Jr. is a very good businessman. The amount of
yeah,
money he has made out of boxing without facing very, very serious and credible opponents
yeah.
is artful. He's a very good businessman.
His career's frustrated me in some respects, more due to periods of stagnation or stop start. I always think an active fighter's a better fighter. I feel he's been
Correct.
inactive too many spells.
Yeah, but in my opinion, that's part of his MO, his modus
Yeah,
operandi,
yeah.
simply because he's not his dad. His dad was again, he's another guy that's carved out of
Oh, he's a
marble
hard
and
man, his dad.
granite.
Yeah.
Really hard guy, no messing about. Chris Eubank Jr. isn't that, but he
No.
doesn't want to be that because he doesn't have to be that. He can make money as much, if not more, than his dad without being that. And
Yeah.
that's the art of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's an old saying, isn't it? The pen is mightier than the sword. Why does he have to use his fists when he could use his brains? And within the contracts of who he's fighting and how he's fighting, he's making just as much money. And it's not good for us hardcore fighters because he's not a real boxer. He's a
Yeah.
celebrity boxer.
Yeah.
But as a businessman, I can't fault him.
And at the end of the day, it's prize fighting. He's fighting for money, isn't he? Fighting for
Correct.
pay,
I
punching
can't.
for pay. Yeah.
Correct. I can't fault him at all.
So we've got another couple of heavyweight fights coming up. Being mooted, Joe Joyce and Philip Hrgovic and Fabio Wardley and Kubrat Pulev.
Right.
What do you think of these?
Right. Joe Joyce. The thing is with Joe Joyce, he's got a great engine, but he is so one-dimensional, isn't he? He
Yeah.
just comes forward and he's got a great defense where he just blocks punches with his chin, doesn't he? Sorry, Joe, but
I
I've got
think
to call
he's.
it out.
I always thought he was quite deceiving. He looked really slow, but he was strangely effective. I think he's actually got quite good footwork for cutting the ring off. A bit like George Foreman did, but
Correct.
he's not
Yeah.
quite as
And
good as George Foreman. But
yeah, and George Foreman was deceptively agile. A lot of people
yeah.
didn't realize that because he had a lot of wrestling moves and things that he was taught.
And if you
But
watch the
yeah,
Jerry Cooney fight, George Foreman against Jerry Cooney, George was about 42, but some of the punches he was landing, they look like they're just going to be wild misses, but they're
yeah.
actually quite accurate.
That's the walk-off uppercut, isn't it? Fight that
Yeah,
was
oh yeah.
Jericho. Oh, what a that is just that's meme worthy. That one is, isn't it?
Oh, that's
She just strolls over there,
just
delivers a beautiful uppercut.
just walks
Right.
away. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Joe Joyce was there was a meme out there. They're calling him the Juggernaut, and I can't remember who it was. Was it Simon Jordan? I can't remember who it was that was saying that it wasn't Simon Jordan. It was someone else was mooting that he's got better
Sam
bone
Jones.
density. Sam Jones, right? That's right. Excess bone density, all of which is complete propaganda and rubbish.
Yeah,
The problem with Joe Joyce is that he's not very good at blocking punches.
yeah,
And unfortunately, he's a heavyweight. So what you can't do in the heavyweight division is take punches because no matter how hard you are, at some point, right, it's going to get to you. The only person I know whose chin is undefeated in the heavyweight division is Oliver McCall,
yeah.
the
Never
old
been
sparring
dropped. Yeah,
part. Yeah, the
yeah,
old sparring partner of Mike Tyson, who I was funny enough. Let me slip this one in there. I was ringside at the fight where he had in Wembley Arena against Lennox Lewis when he sparked Lennox in the second round, and Lennox
yeah,
was gone.
yeah,
He was gone. There's no doubt about it. And when McCall came into the fight, I remember, right, I was sitting there with a couple of my mates from the city, and McCall comes in and he's walking in front of Don King and he's crying. And I
yeah.
remember seeing the size of the guy. I remember turning around to my mate. I said, I hope Lennox has trained for this because this guy is really dialed in.
The big
And
guy.
sure
Yeah,
enough, he wasn't. Anyway, I've got one more minute. So what my view
yeah,
is that I think Joe Joyce will lose against Hrgovic. Hrgovic's too strong a heavyweight, right?
yeah,
We'll have too much for him. He was bowled over by Chisora.
yeah,
Okay. Now, the other one, better put that in quickly, is I would favour Wardley against Pulev. Pulev is
yeah.
very old. And it's for
Mid-round
the regular
stoppage.
belt.
I
Yeah.
would say a
Mid
mid-round
mid
stoppage.
fight. Yeah, mid
Yeah,
fight stoppage. Yeah.
yeah,
5, 6 rounds.
yeah,
Looks like we've got just less than a minute.
yeah.
So
We've got 30 seconds, I think we've got. So
it's
thank you
great
very
coming on,
much.
Anne.
Thank
Great
you very
coming on.
much for coming on, Anthony. It's been an honour. and we'll get you back on again sometime, maybe next week or the week after.
Absolutely. We'll talk about a few other more shenanigans in the clown show.
We'll do that.
God
Okay,
bless you,
guys.
my man.
Thanks very much for coming on, Anthony. And for all you guys out there, thanks for watching. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to Andy's Cavern Boxing, as well as Canada's Boxing Channel and Porky's Corner as well. So I'll bid you all good night.
Good night.
From
Thank you very much.
Take
God
care.
bless you, Andy.